Ops. I think it was Ops. They had these curvy chairs and you could sit back, and this is how people sat. So we started a scene, action, and we began the scene, and it came to LeVar's line and there was silence. Okay, so we started the scene again, very quietly, action. And we played the whole scene and someone else said LeVar's line for him, and he slept unknowingly.
You talk about dancing, but you had some pretty sweet dance. How did the Alphabet song video come to be? Have you seen that? Have you seen it online?
You mean,
where you're on the bridge and you're singing the Alphabet?
Hey, you're adorable.
Yes.
Well, you know, that was a private gift.
The internet is full of those.
Yeah. For Gene Roddenberry, for his birthday. My wife, Dan's mother, is a choreographer, terrific choreographer, and she came in one afternoon during the lunch break and she choreographed that whole number. Have you seen this thing?
Yes.
Yes.
And I sang it as a gift for Gene Roddenberry, and we presented him with the tape. Then some idiot went and put piano accompaniment on it in a different key from the key I was singing. But of course, nobody thinks the pianist is in the wrong key, they think it's me. So if you have it, turn the sound, well, you can't turn the sound off, then you don't hear me singing, but yeah, well, you know, I had excellent choreography, that's why it worked. And that's why Dan is such a good dancer, because his mother was a choreographer.
Dan, you got to do, you did a Star Trek episode?
I did.
Was it fun? What was the experience like?
It was terrifying, actually. Yeah. As I was only about a year out of drama school and had never actually been on camera before. I like to think that it doesn't show, but I'm not sure. On top of that, you know, there's a lot of responsibility that comes with being on that show. It really is, and it's a huge honor, and you want to be able to be good. But having grown up with all those guys, I mean, not just Brent and LeVar and Jonathan and the gang, but also the crew, because as Dad says, they were there every day for 7 years, and they were a pretty amazing bunch of guys. So you couldn't have had a more supportive environment to do your first TV job. It was incredible.
Because you both obviously have huge theater backgrounds, and did you actually leave the Royal Shakespeare Company to go shoot Star Trek?
Not the Royal Shakespeare Company, no. What happened was I had, in fact, after something like 14 years of working steadily with the company, I had left to try to get some TV and film work, and it wasn't going too well. And then I got offered a job at the National Theatre, the Royal National Theatre in London, the only time they've ever offered me a job. I did that job, and I had a break in it, and I went to do some lecturing and teaching in Southern California and stayed with a friend of mine who was an English professor at UCLA, and one night he said, look, do me a favor, I'm giving a public lecture on campus in Royce Hall, and I've asked a friend of mine, an actress, would you two of you come in and illustrate the lecture by reading extracts from the plays I'm talking about? And he said, there's $100 in it for you. Sweet. Yeah. Very sweet. And I did that, and of course, unknown to me, signed up for the course of public lectures was a man called Robert Justman, who was not only one of the original producers of the original classic Star Trek, but had been brought in to help launch this new version of Star Trek. And he claims, and he's an honest man, I think, that halfway through this evening he turned to his wife and said, we found the captain. It took 6 months and 3-4 auditions and meetings. I met Gene Roddenberry the next morning. They called up right away, and I went to see Gene in his little house up in the Hollywood Hills. I remember a lot of orange shag pile carpet. That went in a year or so. Although he was very civil, he said after I had left, absolutely no way. This is not the man I want to have in my new city.
Really?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Why? What was his reasoning?
A bald, middle-aged English Shakespearean.
But I think, and I think this is what comes across when people see you as Captain Picard, that there's so much parallel between sci-fi fantasy and Shakespeare. I mean, it's like, it's this kind of like melodramatic, almost like social allegory. I don't know, it makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah, it made sense to me, too.
How did you win him over?
I mean, I didn't. I had nothing to do with it at all. He was, I'm told, gradually worn down by Robert Justman and the casting department, the wonderful
Junie Lowry.
Junie Lowry, whose name you will see everywhere. Great casting director, and cast, I think, every episode of Star Trek.
I think she did.
And when he came on board, because he was not on board at the beginning, the man who became the executive producer for Star Trek, Rick Berman. And Rick became a great champion of mine, so he joined with Robert Justman, and I think they just wore Gene down. So he cast me just to shut them up.
Well, as I said to you backstage, I've been friends with Will Wheaton since he was doing Star Trek, and he sends his love to you in a very non-threatening way, and it's all hugs. But Will said at one time that I didn't realize how he told me that you were hilarious, and I've seen that over the years since then. But at the time we were teenagers, I was like, really, Patrick Stewart's hilarious? And he told me the story where you guys were on the bridge and you would say stuff like, Ensign Crusher set a course for Rigel 3, and in Grecian times, a general would take a young boy out on campaign.
Now you know what it was like growing up in that house.
Well, there's more to that. I mean, here Dan can support me in this. I used not to have much of a sense of humor. I'm a Yorkshireman. We're pretty kind of dour, you know, not as dour as the Scots, but dour enough. We have a saying in Yorkshire, where I come from, in the West Riding. You probably won't understand it because it's kind of in dialect, but I'll say it slowly. Hear all, see all, say nout, say nothing. Ate all, sup all, pay nout. And if ever that does out for nout, do it for the said. If ever you do something for nothing, do it for yourself. That's the principles that I grew up with.
That's horrible.
So I didn't have much of a sense of humor, did I, Dan, when you were growing up?
No.
But you've since cultivated it, because I think your episode of Extras is probably one of the greatest pieces of television. How did you get involved with Ricky Gervais?
I don't understand the connection between having a sense of humor and the extras.
Oh right, no, you're right. I'm sorry. I was new thought.
You thought that was funny?
No. I was very serious. I was very serious.
No, well, I'm going to finish the funny thing on Star Trek first.
Yes.
Oh yes, okay.
Because the first season, forgive me, I was a pain in the butt. Apart from the fact, like Dan actually, because I understand exactly what Dan's saying, I spent the first season terrified. I'd never done that kind of work before. I had never been that perpetually tired in my life before. I'd never had to learn so many lines so quickly and forget them before. And so for me, it was all about the work. And I thought that the rest of the cast fooled around too much. Okay. And one day, quite early on, I called them all together and I said, listen, things have got to change around here. I could do this because I was the captain and I was also a lot older. You remember this style in me, don't you, Dan?
Very well.
Yeah.
It's etched indelibly on my brain and my backside.
No, I was not a violent father. I had a violent father. And I said, it's got to stop. you know, what you don't understand while you're fooling around, that there are people here who are here 12 hours a day, and they can't fool around, and if they were to fool around, you'd get angry with them. No, we have got to be much more serious and get through the work. And they're all looking at me like, who is this guy? And I remember Denise Crosby, of course, who didn't stay in the series for long, saying, but Patrick, you know, we've got to have some fun. And I said, you are not here to have fun.
How did that go over?
So, not well. I think they may just have laughed. Anyway, the fact of the matter is that during that first season, and certainly the second season, I discovered for the first time in my life it was possible to work very hard, do the best work you could, and have fun at the same time. And those guys, Jonathan, Brent, LeVar, Michael, Gates, Marina, they gave me a sense of humor, which I didn't know existed. And I became, I'd like to think, the silliest person on the Enterprise.
Did they have to sit you down in season 6 and be like, Patrick, some people are here to work?
I know. Oh, yeah, Michael Dorn used to love saying that. Excuse me, Patrick, excuse me. I thought we were here to work. No, my favorite bit of fun, and it's right, we used to, when we rehearsed, we wouldn't rehearse the scene that we were supposed to film. We would make up other dialogue, like the dialogue you described. But my favorite moment would always be when there was any peril, which was pretty much
all the time, every
15
single
minutes.
episode.
You know, something scary happened. I would leap into Jonathan Frakes' arms and scream, "We're all gonna die! We're all gonna die!"
Oh, that is not on the internet anywhere?